Hi, I'm Joe Walz and I'm a psychotherapist. This video is the second in a three-part series exploring how to manage social anxiety. In the first segment, we discussed what exactly social anxiety is, along with some of its symptoms and causes. If you haven't watched that video yet, feel free to pause this one and go check it out. I'll still be here when you get back. So now that we've explored some of the causes and symptoms of social anxiety, let's talk about how we can manage it. Some of these techniques help combat the symptoms, while others help get to the source of the thoughts and feelings connected to our anxiety. Some of these techniques you can do on your own, and others may require the help or assistance of a mental health professional, either assisting with therapy or medication. So first, let's talk about ways to manage the symptoms and causes of anxiety. One of the best ways to help reduce anxiety levels generally is to adopt what is thought of as an anti-anxiety lifestyle. Our body and our mind are interconnected, and taking care of one can have positive effects on the other. By incorporating some of the following practices into your lifestyle, you'll likely help reduce your overall anxiety and set the stage for the success of the other aspects of your treatment. First, you want to be mindful about your diet. Omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to have a positive impact on brain health and to help with anxiety, managing that anxiety. Fish, flaxseed, seaweed, and walnuts are all great ways to get omega-3 fatty acids. You should also consider decreasing your alcohol and caffeine consumption. Alcohol may help calm your nerves during social situations, but it's been found to also potentially increase the likelihood of panic attacks. Additionally, caffeine can directly increase anxiety symptoms, so you should consider going easy on the coffee, energy drinks, soda, or tea, or maybe even cut them out entirely. And while we're talking about substance use, nicotine also acts as a stimulant, which can increase anxiety levels. So if you're a smoker, you may want to consider kicking the habit. Next, chances are you've heard this before, but there is significant research about the mental and physical benefits of physical exercise. By incorporating physical activity into your routine, ideally every day, you'll not only help your body stay healthy, but you'll likely see an increase in positive emotions and improved mood, which can help you better avoid and manage anxiety symptoms. And on the flip side of physical activity is the importance of getting the right amount of sleep. Many of us operate at a sleep deficit, which makes us more susceptible to bouts of anxiety. The more rest we've had, the more successful we will likely be at managing our anxiety in social situations. A regular mindfulness practice can also be a great tool in combating anxiety. By strengthening our mindfulness muscle, we can become more adept at grounding ourselves in the present moment, which is an important component to reducing the symptoms of anxiety. Some people prefer to focus on their breathing as a form of mindfulness training, or to help them become grounded. This can be very helpful, but if traditional meditation or focused breathing isn't for you, that's okay too. There are a variety of ways you can practice mindfulness, including mindful eating, mindful listening, mindful walking. Almost any activity that involves your senses and can allow you to focus on being in your body in the present moment can be turned into a mindfulness practice. And by engaging in this for 5 or 10 minutes a day, you'll prepare yourself to being able to turn on that mindfulness when anxiety or another strong emotion arises so that you can ground yourself and regulate those emotions. Now that we've talked about some ways to manage the symptoms of social anxiety, let's look at ways to shift some of the thoughts and feelings that can lead to it. One of the biggest contributors to the social anxiety someone might feel is the negative beliefs and thoughts that that person may frequently have. These could be thoughts like, everyone is going to think I'm an idiot, or my stories are always so boring, or I'll probably say something wrong and embarrass myself. We need to find ways to challenge and change those thoughts. The first part of the process is to identify the automatic negative thoughts that inspire the fear of social interactions or situations. For example, before a party, you may tell yourself, I'll probably say something stupid and everyone will think I'm an idiot. Once you've identified an automatic negative thought, you want to evaluate and challenge the thought. By analyzing the thoughts, you're able to recognize how illogical they are and then work to replace them with more positive and realistic thoughts about the social situations. This can help you reduce the anxiety. One main way to challenge the thoughts is by asking yourself questions about them. First, you can ask how realistic your fear is. Then, if it's somewhat realistic, ask yourself, well, what's the worst outcome that could happen? Is it really that bad? Could you handle it? How likely is it to actually happen? With our example about the party, you might ask yourself, will I definitely say something stupid? Can I think of examples where I interacted with other people without saying anything stupid? And even if I say something that I don't think is that smart, will people definitely think bad things about me? Won't people recognize that everyone says something incorrect sometimes? Will they even be paying that much attention? Another way to challenge your thoughts is by seeing whether you are falling into a particularly unhelpful pattern of thought, specifically catastrophizing, fortune telling, mind reading, or personalizing. Catastrophizing is when we drastically exaggerate the possible outcome of a situation. For example, if I say something stupid, then everyone will hate me and I'll lose all my friends. Related to that is fortune telling, where we find ourselves predicting the future, assuming the worst outcome will occur. This is when we are certain that the worst case scenario will occur before we even arrive at the event or situation. Mind reading is when we assume we know how other people are thinking about us in the same negative ways that we are viewing ourselves. And personalizing is when we think that other people's actions, behaviors, or thoughts are related to us when they aren't, or when we take for granted that other people must be focusing on us in negative ways. Once we're able to identify our automatic negative thoughts as falling into one of these categories, then we can better work to challenge them and shift the irrational thinking to something that's more realistic and less likely to contribute to our anxiety. Another way we can change our thinking is to shift our focus from the internal to the external. Social anxiety can act like a spiral, getting worse and worse. When we're in an anxiety-producing situation, we're usually focusing on our anxious feelings and thoughts, thinking we are the focus of everyone around us. As we imagine others to be judging us, we get more self-conscious, more aware of our anxiety, which causes us to become increasingly anxious. It isn't easy, but we need to try to shift our focus outward to the things and people around us, but not the imaginary things they might be thinking. We should focus our attention on what is happening around us, trying to really listen to and connect with the people around us. We can't really focus on multiple things at once. So if this shift can take us out of our own anxiety and head, we can find some relief. We need to focus on the present moment, not the worry about what we'll do next or the possible minor error we made a few moments ago. If we focus on listening and connecting to the people around us, we can possibly get out of our heads and display the qualities of curiosity and connection that the people around us will appreciate. Another way to overcome our social anxiety is through the process of gradual exposure. As the term suggests, this is the process of being exposed to the type of situations that cause anxiety, starting small and working our way up to bigger scenarios. You'll want to start with simpler scenarios, like getting together with a couple friends. You can do this in a variety of settings and activities. You want to start with situations in which you feel the safest and most supported, and ones that would allow you to leave if you became too uncomfortable. Sometimes just having that escape route in place can make the situation feel a lot better and more manageable. You can set up challenges for yourself that increase over time, maybe talking to a new person or asking someone a question, like where the bathroom is. It's fine to plan questions or comments ahead of time too. Try to remember that this is a process, and some days you may feel the situation is too difficult, and that's okay. Approach the process giving yourself the grace and forgiveness for when it might be too tough. You can always try again another day. Over time, your mind will learn that these situations aren't dangerous, and your comfort and confidence will increase. Aside from these techniques, attending therapy to work on your social anxiety can also be particularly helpful. Most therapists are trained to be able to help folks working to overcome that sort of discomfort and using a variety of therapeutic modalities and techniques. This can be very helpful. Some of these include cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy. Additionally, in particularly challenging cases, you and your therapist may discuss the possibility of your reaching out to a psychiatrist to look into the option of different medications that could support the management of your social anxiety. They might include antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, beta blockers, or other alternative or holistic medicine options. And that brings us to the end of the second video in our three-part series about social anxiety. In part 3, we'll be going through some specific anxiety management activities together in more detail to learn more specific ways to manage our social anxiety. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to take a moment to share your thoughts, questions, and comments below, including ways that you've worked to manage your social anxiety. And for more information, check out our website at mytherapynyc.com.